Close your eyes for a moment. And imagine a world where childhood cancer doesn't mean hospital rooms and treatments, but wild adventures ranging from drift car racing to rideable robot penguins, giant muffin heads. That sounds impossible, right? Well, not if you're James Origo. As an award-winning creative director and the founder and mastermind behind the Big Dreams program at Children's Cancer Research Fund, James turns the extraordinary imagination of kids battling cancer into unforgettable, larger-than-life realities. His mission is more than just bringing joy, laughter, and a creative outlet to kids and teens. It's about creating lasting legacies and powerful distractions for families facing the unimaginable. Let's get ready to be inspired, uplifted, and maybe even a little teary-eyed. I am so excited to welcome the one and only James to Act to Impact. You're listening to Act to Impact with Brandy DeVries. Through heartfelt stories of resilience, hope, and community, I share my personal experience as a longtime advocate and fundraiser for the national nonprofit Children's Cancer Research Fund. Invite pediatric cancer families to tell their stories and highlight individuals who use their unique gifts to create a positive impact. It's time to ignite action.
Hey. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome, James, to Act to Impact. And I'm Brandy DeVries, and I'm chatting with James. Like I said, he's very talented and creative. I can't wait for us to all hear more about his work. But first, I want to thank you for watching and listening with us. In this show, we take action. And my guess is that you're watching or listening. You're probably here because you're an action taker or you want to learn more about how you can take action in your life and community. So before we dive into this episode, let's flex those action-taking muscles. I want you to show me how you take action and click the follow button, like this episode, leave us a 5-star review, or leave a comment. That helps us reach more action takers like yourself. So, all right, James, let's dive into talking about how we know each other, how we became connected, why you're on Act to Impact, and as we said in your introduction, you're involved with Children's Cancer Research Fund with one of their programs. And that's how we're connected. I've been involved with Children's Cancer Research Fund for over 8 years. And that's how I was introduced to the Big Dreams program and also the virtual Camp Norden component that you've put together as well. So we initially met at Dream 2023 when you were there because you had that cool virtual VR set that the guests and attendees could kind of get a glimpse of because that's, if I remember correctly, that is what you were doing with the virtual Camp Norden component. The kids were having that VR component, the ones that weren't able to come and spend time at camp. And so we had initially met there very briefly. You probably don't even remember me with all the people there and stuff that night. But prior to that, I had, with SOAR Leadership Council, we were supporting raising money and raising funds for Camp Norden and for the virtual Camp Norden. And so Mindy Dykes had come on and talked to us about the work that you were doing with that. And yeah, it was just such a creative way. And I've been following it ever since because I just think it's the coolest thing for these kids. So yeah. And one thing too, it's just, I don't remember hearing this background or it was never brought up in any of our conversations with Mindy or when we were talking about Big Dreams and Camp Norden before, but do you have a direct connection to childhood cancer that prompted you to get involved with CCRF?
So not directly with childhood cancer, but my mom, she had, unfortunately, she had terminal cancer. So all growing up, you're always in and out of the hospitals and seeing how devastating these news, that some of the doctors give you and, how you're supposed to deal with, you only have a couple weeks left to live or a few months, there's just some hard stuff that unfortunately this cancer community understands more than others. So being a caregiver was such a beautiful opportunity to, just be there for my mom and help her with different things. And one of those things that I found was the most helpful was bringing that positive distraction. So, as time had gone on and she had ended up passing on, that was served as kind of like this catalyst of what we end up doing today, and going through the pain with her is actually what sparked the passion to be able to make me more of an expert at what I do today. And it's just, yeah, it's been amazing, and unfortunately my mom, she only, after she had passed, you only have a few voice memos from her, a few videos, and you realize that, like, man, I wish I had more audio recordings, because you forget the sound of a voice. So that ended up sparking a whole whirlwind of an adventure to see how can we bring this joy and distraction and legacy preservation in a fun and silly way. With it's one thing to see an adult go through this stuff, but it's a whole other thing when you're there with some patients that are children. That just, it's awful. So yeah, and then that sparked a whole whirlwind of incredible opportunities, and we bring silliness and joy and technology to patients right at their bedside. We help them create cartoon music videos, custom video games, larger than life productions, and it's just to kind of show them that they're not alone in their fight, and that there's whole communities rooting for them, and yeah, and just to give them a creative outlet and that positive distraction, because that's exactly what you need. And hopefully all the kids I work with live for as long as into 110 would be amazing. But unfortunately, the reality of some of the work that I get brought into, that's not the case. And so at the end of the day, these families get to have these positive videos and songs and games that their kids have created, that they can press play again and hear their voice again over and over. And that's invaluable.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So did you bring the idea that you just described to Children's Cancer Research Fund, or did they find you?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we started this program back in 2015. And we started it, and just started running. We started working. Nothing was being done like that before, using animation and these custom videos and songs, all sorts of stuff, and games. So we started it in 2015, and we brought it to hospitals all over the country. I worked at the top children's hospitals all over the nation. Got involved with Google was our first sponsor, which was kind of fun.
Oh, wow.
And we traveled the U.S. in a little Mini Cooper wrapped in cartoons, bringing joy and distraction. And it totally worked. And then as time went on, we honed in our process even more and more. And it eventually got to the level where, I saw Zach Sobiak's video in Clouds, and it just rippled through your heart. And I wanted to thank his mom, Zach's mom, Laura Sobiak. I wanted to thank her just because he had touched my heart, and he served as a catalyst for me to do what I do today as well. And so I just wrote her a personal thank you note. And long story short, those paths crossed, and got to have dinner with their family, and just incredible. And they've gotten to come to some of the events where we're filming, giant turtles and Lamborghinis and all sorts of wild imaginative things that these patients come up with. And then that teamed up with Children's Cancer Research Fund, because they were like, oh, this is awesome. Like, you see that as a family service program, like, this is bringing so much joy and laughter in times where there's not that, that it is just, it's one of a kind. And it's been a beautiful partnership and relationship with Children's Cancer Research Fund. And now we've been able to, take it year after year to just next level. And it's been awesome. And again, the fun thing is you don't know what experience is going to come up. You just dive right in with the child and see what they're interested in the most, and what their imagination comes up with. And it is so wild of a journey every single time.
Yeah. So going back to when you first started this, was it always called Big Dreams Tour, or has that name evolved, or how did you guys determine, like, this is what it's going to be?
Yeah, it really evolved to that, because it just turned into, you want to help people dream big, especially these kids who are confined to a hospital room or on hospice. Time is such a fleeting thing, and life is such a precious gift. So we just wanted people to dream big, and then we try to help those dreams come to reality. And sometimes those dreams aren't even what you're expecting. If you're a kid, you're not expecting to make a song about riding on the back of a mechanical penguin and drift car around a zoo. But next thing that ends up turning into a reality. And then they have this beautiful, beautiful moment with their family where they're literally riding on the back of drivable drift car penguins through the Detroit Zoo penguin exhibits, like collecting rare cards. It was absolutely beautiful. So yeah, and then that name has just continued to evolve, and we switched it to Big Dreams Virtual Tour when when COVID hit, everything shut down. You weren't allowed in hospitals or anything like that. So normally we would be bedside with the patients, but we had to pivot, and so you just looked at that as a unique opportunity. So we started figuring out how we could utilize Zoom and make meeting online more fun and engaging instead of just a boring Zoom call. So next thing you know, we're doing the 3D modeling over the screen. We're doing all this stuff that's super immersive, and it ended up having such an impact that it ended up winning all of Zoom's overall innovation award for when COVID was happening and everyone was using Zoom. We were using it in a way that was so meaningful. And yeah, so we'd meet on Zoom and then we'd send them a VR headset, like you had mentioned, and now all of a sudden we could bring them up to the moon or surround them with dinosaurs and puppeteer a wild scene of all sorts of things. They could ride on the back of a whale if they wanted, and then we'd premiere their music video in virtual reality, and it just serves that total escape from the hospital walls. It's like it took you to a whole nother place, and their families are just having a blast seeing their kids like light up. Yeah, and that's
thinking about, they're like, for once they can have something else to think about and look forward to, other than like when their next appointment is or when they're going to get poked again,
and that they're in control. You know what I mean? It's not my ideas. It's not anything. It's what you say goes. Let's see where it takes us, and I can help hone it. But it's like how often do you, as a child who's getting poked and prodded, and what you can eat, what you can't. It's like, whoa, I have full control of something. What do I want to create? And it leads to things that are just incredible.
Yeah. Walk me through that process of when there is a kiddo that you're introduced to and you're reaching out to them and saying, hey, I get to bring your wildest dreams to life. Like, what's that process like? How do you initially have that conversation? And because I'm very curious, like how you get them to open up so that you can make their dreams come to life through the games and the sounds and the animation.
Right.
Because they don't know you. Right. And so it's like you clearly, though, have a gift to get them to open up through your process as well. But I'm curious, what do you go through with them? So to get then eventually to that end result, because the videos are so cool, but it clearly, there's a lot that goes into it.
There's no like planned formula or script, because it has to be fluid and it has to be genuine and it has to just kind of work with each kid. And yeah, this comes with years of practice, being in situations that are unbelievably challenging. Like if someone came up to you and be like, oh, tell me your wildest dream, like you wouldn't even know what to, at least I wouldn't even know what I would talk about, so we don't put any pressure on like, because that can almost be overwhelming of like, whoa, you can pick anything and do anything. Well, what is it, So we just kind of start with just getting to know them and just start just chatting with them and their family and like seeing what clicks. And once you see what makes them laugh and you get this little like spark in each patient we've worked with, it's like, oh, okay, this is the route. This is where we're going. And, and I've done this in so many different situations that it's really, it's honed in the craft. I mean, like I said, we would be making songs with, and videos with kids who are super outgoing and are so jazzed up, excited to do this. And then there's other kids we've worked with where they're terrified of singing. They don't even know, I don't even sing, and next thing you know, they're making this smash hit country song or something, like, whoa, I didn't even know I could do that, And then, and then we've worked with kids that are like totally nonverbal, from brain tumors, and they can't speak. And yet you're still able to dig out and find that spark of what makes them laugh. I was working with a patient one time, they could only communicate with their eyes, and next thing you know, you're still bringing this silliness and joy, and they're lighting up strictly with eyes. It's like, so you're just giving that one-on-one attention and really, just really taking that time to enjoy this person, and enjoy their ideas and see what they can create. And so, yeah, so we just start, I mean, and again, it can be anything. It's from, next thing you know, we're making it about giant muffin heads, or really meaningful ones if they want to make something lasting for their family that they can hold on to. It's like, that are kind of, intense.
Mhm.
But half of the time they don't even know really what they're creating until all of a sudden they get this end result, and it's like, what the heck, this sounds so good. They have drums, they have pianos, and then they see these animations that have been created with, top level animators, and getting all sorts of people involved. So it's just, yeah, so I don't know if that necessarily answers your answer, but
Mhm.
answers your question, but it just comes with years of practice, and genuine care for this
Yeah.
population. And you just devote that one-on-one focus. And how often do we even have that in a day where someone genuinely is here sitting, listening to you, and they actually care about your ideas? How often do we even get that? So to have that, a lot of these kids light up. And a lot of them have
Oh.
just, they have all day to dream and to daydream. So anything that could be silly. One thing though that actually serves as a beautiful catalyst has been that the games that we're ended up creating with the kiddos, those games are used by other patients all across the country. So there's this service aspect, and that actually creates
Mhm.
a real excitement in the kids, because they start thinking, oh, I'm going to make something. What's something funny I could make that would make another kid laugh that's in the same situation? So having that service aspect to the program has been like absolutely amazing.
Mhm. And how many hospitals or clinics have access to like all those videos and the
Yeah,
games
I
and the
mean, it's
things that the kids
anybody
are
who's on
creating?
Instagram. If you have an Instagram account, you have access, and we have this
Okay,
massive
just
network. Yeah,
just
because we're
through
using
Instagram
augmented
then.
reality for some of these games,
Yeah.
because a lot of the games we're
Yep.
creating, they use head tracking,
Mhm.
because a lot of kids that we've worked with, especially in the brain tumor community, they aren't able to play video games anymore. So we actually ended up using augmented reality to which uses face tracking, and we're able to create these video games where the patient can at least move their head left and right, and they can steer the character. They open their mouth and they can jump over
Mhm.
things, or so yeah, so we find ways to like use tools that people have access to every day, but in really creative ways.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's really good. But so how long does it take from the time that you meet with the kid? Is it one time or is it like multiple times that you guys are going back and forth to create the animation or the songs or the game, whatever it might
Yeah,
be?
I try to work as fast as I can, because unfortunately, with this population, time is of the essence. So I try to get things done within a week. Sometimes it can take a little longer when we have kind of backed up,
Okay.
but and sometimes I can do it
Hmm.
even quicker. And sometimes we've had to, there was a kid I was working with who was in the hospital, and he was given like 2 weeks to live, and then I met him on the 2 week mark. This was the date where he was supposed to not even be there. And like, how do you even,
Oh,
that room you walk in and there's this weight and heaviness that you can't even explain. And it's super scary for the kids, for the family.
yeah.
They're like, it could be any minute now. Like, how do you even comprehend something like that your child is going through? And so next thing you know, my job is to bring light during some of that dark time. And next thing you know, we start connecting. The parents are able to
Yeah.
be in the room and like figure out their plan, what they have to do. And then next thing you know, me and this little dude are jamming out about the thing that he loved the most was the world's largest tractor, which is called Big Bud, which is the world's largest tractor in Montana. I knew nothing about tractors. I know, neither did I. And next thing you know,
I
he's
didn't know
making the
that.
the next country single of the year, about this beautiful Big Bud tractor, and how he wanted to drive it with his siblings and going collecting farm as the sun sets and collecting corn. It was just like beautiful, and it totally distracted
Mm,
any heaviness or any weight from all that. And
yeah.
yeah, but that we had to work. Everyone had to pull in all hands on deck, and we got that back to him within 24 hours, and the family got to like
Yeah.
see him and his siblings like just as cartoon characters. It was
Oh,
beautiful, and hearing his song. And but anyway, so it can take a long time. But and then when there's kiddos that need that extra boost, where we try to bring their cartoon music videos to real life. That's where we make these larger productions and create props and
Mhm.
bring the massive communities together.
Yeah.
That yes,
Yes,
those
and
are,
I want you to talk about that too because I
yeah,
mean, there are like bands and like whole productions, like theater productions
beautiful.
and people that you have been able to bring together and get them as excited as you are about bringing these dreams to life for these kids. But like how do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
that's another thing. What
Okay.
is your secret? Because I'm a people connector too, but you have just like take it to another
Mm,
level with like being able to bring the right people in
yes.
and invite them to be part of this with you.
Those are some of my most favorite things, because each one is like an act of faith of, you don't know where this is going to go. Because you have this idea of, you want to bring this
Mhm.
patient's imagination to real life, but it's like, how do you do that with, how do you make a giant life-size muffin head, or how do you make all these things, um, and so then you just start knocking, you know what I mean? You just start putting the leads out there and seeing what
Yeah.
sticks. You get a lot of no's, but then you get a lot of yeses that are like, wow, this is so much more than I could have ever imagined. Honestly, it comes down to faith and prayer. Honestly, like all of the stuff that I do
Mhm.
would not work. And some of these things are honestly miraculous, of like, wow, this is no way we should be working together with this person. Or, I mean, just recently on our production we just are doing right now, I keep looking to the side because I literally have these giant, hang on, I literally have in my office like giant muffin heads staring at me. So it's like,
Let's see.
there's no way to really
Yeah.
explain actually what we're doing. But these were created by
Yeah.
7-time Grammy winning designer named Marina, who's in California, and just amazing stuff. And so, like, yeah, we get to work with full marching bands. The University of Michigan marching band learned the patient's song. We had Rutgers University
Mhm.
learn his song. We've
Yeah.
teamed up with opera singers. Yeah, and all these people, the people who say yes, it's just absolutely beautiful, because you get all the right people that are all in. Marina, when we had a meeting,
Yeah.
again, I had sent emails to every single designer I could find, and I heard back from nobody. And then when the time was right, months later, I happened to get an email back. After I had gotten no's from all these other plans that we were going to do, and next thing you know, she's like, "I'm so sorry, just
Oh,
seeing this, we need to make this happen." Next thing, we hop on a call. Her and her team of designers, who they've made like their props that they make are like for like Marvel and Hollywood movies. And next thing you know, they're working their tails off to make
yeah.
massive life-size muffin heads for a patient who dreamed of this wild story about these burnt muffins that turn into that save the day. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. You'll have to see the video on that one. I can't even explain how that comes out, but it
Yeah.
was just like, you get all these wonderful, wonderful, big-hearted
Oh,
people. And I mean, like you yourself, you've connected so many people, and you understand how important these kids are. And it's like, man, if you have a tiny connection, it's worth a
mhm.
knock. And next thing you know, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's beautiful every time, but every time it's an act of faith of, you're like, huh, I have a goal of how this is going to happen. And the results are always the same, of like, it's just beautiful for the
Yeah.
family, the kid, everybody. I mean, everyone involved. But yeah, it takes that knocking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, or like my husband always says, "If you don't ask, you don't get." And
Exactly. But
so
it's a hard
you just
ask
gotta
every time.
keep
Like I'm
asking,
like on
so
calls. I'm like, so
Oh,
there's this muffin, like, what? And next thing you know, like when they say this, they're like,
yeah.
oh, this was the best thing we've ever done in their whole career. Like we've had countless stories, and we've worked with, the Fast and the
Mhm.
Furious. We've worked with the Nightmare Before Christmas movie directors. We've worked with, yeah, some of the most amazing folks have come out,
Yeah,
and all to help make an unforgettable memory for a child in need.
yeah, absolutely. So is there a video or a project that maybe you've recently worked on, or I guess in the past too, that was just really extra special?
Yeah, I mean, each one is amazing, and it like, I mean, I have a whole wall on the other side of me here of just all little keepsakes that I try to keep from each thing, just because it reminds me, and it honestly it keeps me thinking of why why I do this stuff and why I work so hard, um, because
Mhm.
of the patients who unfortunately are not here anymore. Yet we have so many video footages,
Yes.
and you can hear their laughter when you watch these videos. And it's like, if we get to capture the laughter in the moments, it's like, it's just absolute gold. And, one that just happened recently was for a little girl named Kimber, and she's having a really hard time, and she is normally in
Mhm.
a wheelchair, or on crutches, or because she's going through,
Yeah.
she not sure what's going on and how much time. And we planned this whole event for her, and next thing you know, she was having so much fun that we designed it all to be like wheelchair friendly and accessible, just so that way it's no pain or anything. And she's like, no way, I'm not getting in that wheel. Like,
Uh-huh.
no one could convince her to get in a wheelchair. She was like, she wanted to find all these hidden clues that we had all around. We had 3 foot tall things of foam, glow in the dark foam. There was so much stuff.
Yes.
But yeah,
So
when you get to see
cool.
that joy come to fruition, it's
Yep.
it's it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that one, you took like this whole production team, brought everything to her, right?
Yeah, we had to pivot quickly, and we had like, that was like plan D. We had all these other
Okay.
plans ahead of time, and then you just had to scrap all of it at a
Mhm.
last minute notice, and she'd be like, "Let's go, everybody, suit up, bring it to the." We had her
Yeah.
favorite nurse actually ended up suiting up in a giant unicorn costume and gave her all the clues we had hidden around. It was wild. So,
Those were
um,
great. But to your point with Kimber's video, I watched it a couple times, and there were times where you could see her battle. But then you could see her light up when she saw the inflatable unicorns, when she was getting the clues. But it was hard, like, and so I can't imagine, like, I mean, watching it and seeing that she clearly was in a couple of those spots, just not in a good place. Like, you could see that pain and that she was going through. Um, I can't imagine really connecting with these kids. Like, you form relationships with them,
yeah,
and you're really getting to know them, and also you're seeing their joys, and you're also seeing that pain. And I what do you how do you what keeps you going through that when you're seeing these kids in pain? Like,
yeah.
what do you tell yourself, I guess, to like try to get through some of these hard times, because you probably feel like you're there, right there with the kid and the parent.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you can only imagine what they're going through. And my goal, it just stays the same, of like, how can I bring a little bit of laughter, a little bit of joy, a little bit of wow, you know, and yeah, it is terrible. I mean, there's a lot of tears on our end over here.
Yeah.
A lot of the videos we focus on showing the positive and showing the fun times that's happening, but like behind the scenes, you're bawling your eyes out
Yeah.
because you get so close with these families. I mean, we've been working with different folks for years. I mean, even the patient the that we were working with to bring the muffin video to life, she had brain cancer, and
Hmm.
3 days before our event, she passed away. And then it's like, you're just shattered, for their family.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what are you prepared to do now? And next thing you know, her family reaches out and is just like, this means so much to us, and it would mean so much to Amy. So like, is it okay if we could just watch from the sidelines and like come and just watch how you do your process? And next thing you know, the whole room is filled with tears and laughter. I mean, there's no way you cannot laugh and think of your child when you're wearing a giant, muffin head that's
Yeah.
designed. So it's just like, it's really, and then her brother ended up being the main star of the whole video, wearing the thing. He like suited up, and like, it was actually a really healing part of the grief process. And now it preserves her legacy. Everyone's
Mhm.
talking about their child again, and like talking about them to these places, because they're like, why are you doing this? What's this? And then you get to share these stories of these incredible kids.
Yep.
And I guess, yeah, I mean, one day, that's why I work so hard with Children's Cancer Research Fund. Is like, I believe in their mission of,
Hmm.
one day that there will be a cure for childhood cancer, and they fund all the research that is happening, which is going to find the cure.
Hmm.
And my program, my little corner of it, is focused on, in the meantime, while all the research is happening, and unfortunately it takes a lot of time, in the meantime, my goal is to bring that legacy preservation part, bring that fun, bring that positive distraction while they're going through. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot of tears. But what keeps me going is, you just get so close with each of the families. Like, there's no way that you can't do this.
Yep.
You have to. And my wife and our kids, they're right in it with me, and they're a great support system. And then again, tying it all back to faith and prayer, and like, that's honestly been the root of how I'm able to continue and then to restart over and over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the work that you're doing. You are truly creating the legacy of these kids for their families, for them to have as memories, or just for these kids to look back on someday when they have survived
Yeah,
and say, that
exactly.
was
That's
a
the goal.
hard part in my life,
Yeah.
and I got through it. And you were a part of helping them get through that. So yeah, I think it's just a wonderful thing. I love the program. So, and I'm very sad now to hear about Amy, but I really look forward to watching her video now whenever you do release it. And we'll make sure to, when this is released, we'll link that up for sure. So
sure. Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. Like, all of these videos are then used for more awareness, more education about pediatric cancer. It's getting eyes of people that childhood cancer isn't on their radar, but now all of a sudden it is, and it's reaching them in a way that's totally attention grabbing, and it's fun and joyful. It's also hard, but that's like how you're raising money for our virtual camp. Camp Norden there, as the virtual portion, it's for all the kids who can't attend in-person camp. We send them these beautiful boxes filled with activities, and they get these VR headsets, and they all get to meet each other. And that's some of the most beautiful things that happens, because all of a sudden these kids who are alone and isolated in hospital rooms, now you're gaming, you're having fun with friends, you're going fishing with each other, you're going, and you just kind of give them the tools and watch them run and watch them like just light up, because some of these kids, they were saying they haven't played with another kid in person for like 3 years, because they're so immunocompromised. And it's like, whoa, but now you don't even realize that you're playing laser tag, you're playing whatever, and we're teaching them too. Like, during that camp, we're teaching them how to do 3D modeling, how to, they design their own custom Nike shoes that get sent to them. And like, there's all sorts of like, you saw that? Yeah, I know.
I did.
So, and they all get to work together. And to that point, Amy, that the girl who had passed on, she was part of the camp, and she like made a massive impact on all the other campers, because she was such a light, even though she was going through such hard things, and she had brain cancer. So it had taken away a lot of her ability to use one side of her body. So she was having trouble one time. She was trying to figure out how to play this thing with everyone. And next thing you know, everyone's just, all the other kids are like bound together with her, of like, no, Amy, you got this. Like, this is how you do it. And they're all coaching each other. And then next thing you know, Amy's figured it out, and she's flying. Yeah. She somehow learned how to fly. We're like, Amy, and she's flying. Yeah, she's flying all around the Japanese garden. Yeah. And it was beautiful. And then same to that point of those custom shoes ended up showing up to her house, and she was so excited about what she created with all of her new friends. Even though it was all virtual, she ends up getting those shoes on. And this girl, she hadn't been able to walk in like 2 years.
Yes,
and the mom showed the video of her walking again and like taking those steps. And it's like, oh, wow. Like that served as a catalyst for that positive distraction, can take away a little bit of the pain, because there's a greater thing after it. And it's like, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is we provide those positive distractions to in creative outlets to bring a little bit of that pain away. So anyway, sorry for the rant.
No, that's great. That's what I love hearing those things. And that's what this is about. So sharing that for advocacy. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up that it's for the families and stuff too, but it is so much as about advocacy as well. So to get other people involved with children's cancer research that have not been exposed to it otherwise, it's just a different format or different way for exposure. So, well, I want to ask you a serious question, James. I watch these videos of you and the kiddos, and I just can't help but think, though, who's having more fun? You or the kids?
I know it is a lot of fun. We get to, we have to dive in, and we have to, if I can have fun in this, I have to put myself in the situation so that way I can make sure that this is going to be good
Mm-hmm.
for who we're working with,
Yeah.
um but it's all just focused on that individual child and stuff. Like I never had any of this stuff on my radar. I never thought about drift car racing or riding on penguins or dancing around in a muffin head. Like
Yeah.
that's never on my radar of things to do. But it's all about focusing on, like, how much fun and silliness can we bring to this child, and what's their interests. And then you have to fully commit to this thing.
Yeah.
You have to fully commit to running around a 5-star resort wearing that massive muffin
Muffin head.
head. Yeah. And it's contagious, though. You know what I mean? If you can have fun, then they can have fun, and there's no way you can't when you see them lighting up and having a blast. It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hard things that people don't see. Even just planning these are all like massive events that we're trying to plan with our, in record timing, and pulling just the unthinkable together. And when you watch some of these videos, you can kind of see it and feel it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal. Yeah, we bring the fun,
Yeah.
and inherently you can't not feel the fun in doing so. And hopefully that transpires when you're watching the videos. Hopefully you feel the joy, but hopefully you also feel the weight of what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say laughter is the best medicine, and in this
Yes.
case, it seems like it is for these kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, we even had a patient that she was on hospice towards the end of life, and she hadn't been able to walk in all this time. And next thing you know, we sent her VR program and all this stuff. And next thing you know, on camera, we're saying, she's like, "Mom and Dad, I want to stand. I want to stand." And we're like, "No, it's okay. Like, you just stay here, and like you can do it, and you can see her game and all that." She's like, "No, no, no." She was having so much fun that she literally gets up and stands and starts smashing through the things and doing her game. And it was beautiful. And next thing you know, like, we're all trying not to cry, like her parents, because they haven't seen her stand like that again. But it was like
Mhm.
exactly what happened. You brought that silliness and laughter. I mean, she was riding down a mountain on the back of a llama collecting pancakes was her thing. And she was having so much fun in that she was standing. And that's the last footage that we have of her. And
Mhm.
she has siblings and a little sister, and yeah, now the family, they would send me messages of, they would play her song every single morning. Her little sister would ask to hear her song every single morning before she went to school. And you can hear her sisters laughing and singing about riding on the back of whatever, collecting pancakes. And it was like, just so that way they can hear her voice again. It's like, oh my gosh. And that's exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I would love to be not doing this anymore. I would love to one day, all these cures are happening and I can just do something else. I would love to not see and be in these really hard situations with kids who are fighting so hard. So that's where my hope is with Children's Cancer Research Fund, and I appreciate all your advocacy and all your fundraising that you've done, and even this podcast challenging people to make an impact. I think it's just amazing, and it's exactly what needs to happen, because each one of us take our little gifts and skills
Thank
and
you.
look at what can happen from that.
Mhm. Yes. Yep, exactly. And that's what I want to know, like, if you're, for people out there, what's your advice for how they can put their gifts and their skills to use to make an impact like you have? What would your advice
Yeah,
be?
I think it comes down to seeing people, like seeing needs and then taking action on those needs. So like,
Mhm.
the people that I saw that there was, pediatric cancer. It's a terrible, terrible thing, terrible group of that's what they're going through. And then it's like, okay, well, how can we make a positive impact in that? And then you just start self-assessing. What am I good at? What can I like to doodle? I like to,
Yeah.
and next thing you know,
Yes.
it starts creating this massive thing and this whole underground program. And that's a little grandiose, but I almost think that motto of seeing people and taking action, I think that can be applied to anyone. It doesn't have to be a
Mhm.
large scaled program and stuff. It can be, just you helping your neighbor, you helping a certain population
Yeah.
group. I think that's really important. And even,
Absolutely.
saying yes when they're like, if you get a call from somebody talking about a muffin head and then needing help, you're like, oh, actually I can connect you with this. I know this person. I know that. And then that's a form of using your gifts to make a positive impact. And it's like, yeah. So I think saying yes, seeing people taking action, big or small ways, I think all that stuff ripples effects. I mean, again, then none of this stuff was even on my radar when I was growing up. Before I was doing this, I was going to be a secret agent. That was like that's what I was trained to do. That's what I was like. I was going to save the world from bad. I was knowing my exits, memorizing all sorts of things, crazy things. And then, God just had a different plan. After I'd gotten a severe brain injury and then learned that all of a sudden I could make, silly songs. I had to relearn how to talk again, so there's a whole wild journey that got me to here. Okay. But, so you never know what your gifts will be. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you have these gifts and you're sharing them with Children's Cancer Research Fund and the families and that are in this fight. So yes, because I too believe that one day there's going to be no cancer. Yeah. We don't want our kids to go through this. We want them to live long and healthy lives. So James, thanks again for being here and sharing what you're doing. Where can people watch all these amazing videos that you've just shared with us?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. And hopefully, you almost need to watch some of these videos after this. So that way you really understand what in the world we're talking about. And the easiest way is to go to Children's Cancer Research Fund, and you can find our Big Dreams program with them, and you can watch some of the videos. But then there's also on Instagram is where it's most active. It's called Lad in a Battle, and or on the Children's Cancer Research Fund page, and you'll see our stuff popping up there all the time of some of these just larger than life productions and pure joy during really difficult times. So you gotta hear some of these songs. I mean, fair warning. I mean, these songs will get stuck in your head. Like the songs that these kids are creating, they're not just silly little things. These are hits. So you've been warned.
That's right. Thanks for the warning. So, all right. Well, thanks, James.
Thank you, Brandy. Good seeing you. And we'll see you on the next event.
You've been listening to Act to Impact with Brandy DeVries. If this show ignited your fire and inspired you to take action to make an impact, please share this episode with a friend, leave a 5-star review, or write a review to let others know how the show impacted you. I can't wait to see the action you are taking to make an impact, and I'd love for you to share that with our community. Go ahead and tag me on social media as you are out making an impact in the world. Do you have a story to share and want to be a guest on Act to Impact? I'd love to connect with you.